unstoppable kick-ass confidence. Are you ready?
Welcome to the Raw and Unscripted show with Christopher Rausch, where we help you overcome your self-created crap without the self-help fluffy bullshit. Now please welcome our host, Christopher Rausch.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Welcome back to another episode of the Raw and Unscripted show with yours truly, your no excuses coach, Mr. Christopher Rausch. And you are at your place where I help you overcome your excuses and get results. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been going here on the show for over 6.5 years. We're on episode 327, and I'm pretty excited about that because that takes dedication. It takes consistency. It takes vision. And honestly, some days it takes doing stuff that you don't want to do, right? It takes getting out of our comfort zone, and it takes realizing that sometimes we have to tell ourselves different stories in order to get different results. And I'm excited to be here with you guys, whether you're live on the video cast or you're listening to us, of course, on the audio podcast in one of 38 different countries, I think. Thank you. And of course, as always, if you are watching on the video cast, go check out the podcast. Take us with you. We've got a ton of shows. We've got some amazing guests that we've had on here in the 326 episodes we've already done. So go to rawandunscripted.com, RAW, and unscripted.com. Go there, check it out, and take us with you. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, any other place that you get podcasts. We are there for you, and we are here for you. So please reach out to us. If you have a topic or a conversation that you would like for us to explore here on the Raw and Unscripted show, send us an email, info@noexcusescoach.com. info@noexcusescoach.com. We get emails every single week, and we appreciate you guys because this is the way that we can custom cater this particular show and the topic and the guest to what's going on in your life. And of course, if you're new to the show, we talk about life here. We talk about mindset. We talk about relationships. We talk about goals. We talk about personal success. We talk about spiritual success. We talk about financial success. We talk about mindset success. We talk about forgiveness. We talk about healing and growing. And we talk about the uncomfortable aspects of life that we tend to often suppress or ignore or repress until one day it shines its beautiful light in our lives and we have to take notice of it. And that's something that's been going on in my life recently. And if you guys have been listening to the show for this year, you guys know I've done a couple of very vulnerable shows and talking about mental health. And we actually in June did Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. And we actually did four podcasts, 4 shows, all centered on men's mental health. And the kick-ass show off, I actually talked about my mental health and how sometimes we go through life and we hit that part of our life where everything that we've been doing is no longer serving us. Everything that we've been doing and identifying as who we are, who Christopher Rausch is. Sometimes that story changes. Sometimes there becomes aspects and events in our life that cause us to stop and cause us to reflect and look back and look forward and ask ourselves, am I still becoming the person that I thought I wanted to be? Are the things in my life still exciting me? Are the things in life still making me passionate? Or am I going through the motions, hoping, wishing, and praying that something somewhere somehow changes and my life turns out differently? And of course, you know, here on the show, we talk about accepting responsibility. And the big thing is the AAA effect, right? We got to be aware. We got to be aware that we're in a funk. We got to be aware that we're not operating on all 8 cylinders. The next thing we have to do is we have to accept it. We have to accept that maybe the job isn't the job we thought it was going to be. The career isn't the career we thought it was going to be. Whatever it is that we have in our life maybe isn't what we thought it was going to be. Right? So we have to accept that situation. Then the last thing we have to do is we have to take action, right? And that's often the hard thing. We say we're going to do something. We promise ourselves we're going to try. But when we say we're going to try, we give ourselves an out. We give ourselves an excuse to say, well, I tried, but. And so I'm excited for the guest that I have on tonight because she is alone in the fact that she has been on the Raw and Unscripted show. She's been on the Rainbows in Real Life show. She's been on the Unfiltered Experience show. She's been on every single show that I have ever done in the last 5 years that I've met her because she is so impactful. And from the moment I was introduced to her by our dear friend, Patricia, Patty, thank you very much for watching. I was inspired. Not only was I inspired, but I was tremendously blown away, which isn't something that's easy for me to do. I was blown away by this person's integrity, by their honesty, by their passion, by their tenacity, by their fight, by their willingness to do what's uncomfortable to make a difference, to actually go that extra step that most of us say we're going to do, but this individual walks her talk. And I have been impressed with her for the 5 years that I have gotten the opportunity to know her. She runs a nonprofit organization that I'm so happy to be involved with any way, shape, or form that I can. We're going to be talking about that. But more importantly, she is a soul who has been on an amazing journey her entire life, and even more so in the last couple of years. So I'm excited for this conversation because this conversation is about life and it's with you. So if you're watching live, feel free to join in on the conversation, chime in with some questions. If you're watching on the replay, feel free to do so as well. And we'll make sure we get answers to those questions. We interact with you guys because that's what the show is all about. It's a conversation with you. So without any further hesitation, please help me in welcoming to the Raw Unscripted show my dear friend, my beautiful sister from another mister, Miss Serena. What's up, Serena?
Oh my God, Christopher! I'm almost going to cry. Thank you. I am so excited to be here today. Like super excited, emotional, which I didn't know.
Are you getting all choked up?
I am. I think I love your show. You know I do, the Raw and Unscripted show. And that's exactly what it is. You and I have not discussed what we are talking about. I don't know the questions. And that's the beauty, I think, of my life is I never fully prepared. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't have a speech, but I have lived my life in service. I have lived with a lot of love and a lot of experience. And so I'm able to come here and just talk from my heart. And I know that there's no way that I can go wrong because everything is really raw. It's really true. It is unscripted, but it's all love, 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 love.
Yes. And I got to share something with you. I was never comfortable being raw and unscripted. It wasn't until I met Glenn Morshower, who's a famous actor and a dear friend of mine. And he came out on stage in front of 800 people. You know, Glenn, he came out in front of 800 people and he stopped and he says, I have no idea what I'm going to talk about tonight. Are you guys okay with that? And then instead of me giving you a speech, how about we have a conversation? And everybody in the audience just kind of looked at this one dude and went, yeah, let's do that. And for the next 90 minutes, he just spoke authentically from the heart. He didn't know exactly what he was going to say. But like you just said, Serena, when you speak from the heart and you trust yourself and you're honest and you're vulnerable and you're real, you don't have to worry about what you're going to say because it's all the truth. And when we're truthful with ourselves and we're honest with ourselves, that's where the healing and the growth comes. And that's where the opportunity to have true connection with people happens, right?
100%. I wasn't always like this. I mean, in my adolescent years, definitely, I was not what I am today. And I think that that's why I am here is because I have continuously overcome the things that I think that I wasn't capable of doing. And once I started to face my fears and realize I was not what I thought I was or what people thought I was, my entire life shifted, my entire life changed. And it is continuously shifting, changing, growing, evolving, ups, downs, all around. So, like I said, I'm really excited to be here. I feel like, how long is the show, Chris?
As long as you want it.
Well, we're already 8 minutes in. I know it's not that long. So I feel like we have a lot of really big things to discuss. So I'm ready to, let's go. Let's get right into it.
Let's get right into it. Okay. So I kind of prefaced the show with the fact that life is tumultuous for us sometimes. And there's opportunities for us all to stop and take a look and to grow. And I don't think there's been a bigger time in our lifetimes than COVID, which caused all of us around the world on the spinning blue marble for us to stop and take a look at ourselves and reflect upon what it is that we were doing, perhaps have to change drastically what it is that we're doing because our financial success depended on that. I know for me, right before COVID happened in 2019, when I started the show, I started the show in 2019. I went through major back surgery at the beginning of 2019, had 6 screws and 3 rods put in my back. And then towards the end of 2019 in November, I think it was November 7th of 2019, I walked into my place of employment for 26 years and was invited to leave. And from that point, for the next few months, my life was never the same. My identity, as I knew who I was as being the director of operations and having this life and doing all these things and leading these teams, overnight, my identity changed. And then I thought, okay, now this is the opportunity for me to do my coaching and my speaking and write my book and go out there and do all these different things. And then, of course, we know March of 2020, everything shut down and the entire world had to stay home and reflect upon ourselves and change that. And that really was a big crisis in my life. I didn't tell very many people about it, but that's 6 months, especially when COVID started happening and I started reevaluating who I was and what I was going to do with the rest of my life. I went into a very dark place, and it allowed me that time for reflection and to ask myself some pretty strong questions about, well, what I was doing, but more importantly, who was I becoming, and was I happy with that? And you kind of said that before, Serena. What have the last 5 years been like for your life? What has transpired in your life that has allowed you to, like you said, face those fears, stop, and get honest with yourself?
Well, the last 5 years in particular, I mean, for me, 5 years ago at the onset of COVID, at the very beginning of COVID, I was in Spain. When the pandemic was called, I had a decision to make. Do I stay in Spain or do I come back to Canada? And honestly, just saying this out loud, that was a pivotal moment in my life that I probably didn't even recognize till this minute. Because had I chosen to stay in Spain, I truly believe my life would have turned out differently. But I did, and I am Canadian. I am a very proud Canadian. I decided to jump on a plane and come back home. Home because, God forbid, if I did get sick, I could go to a hospital and, I have health care. So I came home to be secure in myself. And if something happened to me, I was in my hometown to get the services that I needed that many of us take for granted. And I came home. And to be honest, when I came home, I was absolutely floored. I was shocked because I came home to my hometown, Hamilton, Ontario, just outside Toronto. And I saw what was happening right in my own city. I went for a walk because I had to be quarantined and I wasn't allowed to leave unless I was outside. And so I went outside for walks. And when I went outside for walks, I saw encampments everywhere. I saw unhoused people everywhere. Now I was absolutely floored by what I had seen. And so immediately, because of who I am, I instantly started to do what I could about it. And so during COVID, food insecurity became one of the main missions of Help Heal Humanity. Because schools were not open, so we couldn't be in school delivering programs, we switched to food insecurity. And on that note, I did come home and I was, doing Help Heal Humanity, food insecurity all across the GTA. There were some days and some weeks where we were putting out over 10,000 meals a week. So we were doing some phenomenal work. But I will say, Help Heal Humanity is a non-for-profit organization, started organically in my classroom, was nothing. I never in a million years thought I'd be where I am today, role modeling, advocating for education, for human rights, but here I am. And so when I came home, Help Heal Humanity is volunteer run. There are no paid employees, including myself. So I never got paid for my work, which was absolutely beautiful. But then it hit me. I'm like, maybe you're back home. Maybe you should go back to the classroom. So after 2 years of serving, I went back to the classroom. And so for the past 3 years, Chris, I have been focused on my main profession, which is a special education specialist, helping some of the most vulnerable youth now in the city of Hamilton. It was Haiti, it was Toronto, but basically one of my life's missions is helping, serving, educating the most vulnerable populations on our planet today. So that is not, we are not talking about your average folk here. We're not talking about your average student. We are talking about developing countries. We are talking about, and I might not be using the correct words, the ghettos and the slums of the world. Some of the most marginalized youth on our planet today. So my niche specifically is working with the hardest to serve. And I've dedicated my life to them. And in return, I've helped them, they've helped me, and organically Help Heal Humanity formed, and now we're on a mission to literally help heal humanity, one person at a time, one country, one meal. It's a lifelong mission, and it's all love. That's what it is. This is a whole bunch of people coming together to use our gifts, our talents, and our resources to give back, to spread love, and to be kind. And I'm going to just go back, keeping it simple. Simple. A lot of people use a lot of big words, and they say a lot of great, big, deep things, which we could get into. But the clienteles that I do serve and the populations that we serve, we keep it very simple, and we bring it right back down to the basics. And you said this at the beginning of the show and at the top of the show. If you have breath, you have life. If you have life, you are guaranteed to fall apart. Life.
Well, that's a promising situation.
It is the absolute truth, Chris.
Yeah, I know.
Person in this lifetime that will live their life without problems, without insecurities, without fear, without having without problems, without a catastrophe. It's inevitable. If you are alive, breath, in the course of your lifetime, you will experience hard times. And I think what I've come to learn is one of my gifts is to give people the tools to succeed when life is hard, because life is hard. And right now, if you actually take a moment and you look at what's happening in the world right now, it's a very, very sad place with a lot of hurting, a lot of suffering.
Yeah.
So if the one thing I can do in this lifetime is teach people that you're going to be okay and give them some tools to help them be okay, and it could be as simple as laughing, then I've done an incredible thing. And I say that because, again, it doesn't have to be big. My students used to be Toronto's most vulnerable youth. Now they're Hamilton's, Haiti, whatever. They always would say to me, like, you, Miss B, everyone calls me Miss B, you are so silly. You are so crazy. You are so wild. And I am. I'm animated. I have a lot of energy, probably more than most people. So when some of the most vulnerable youth are coming to me and walking in my classroom, I am going to be the best I can be for them. And if that means that I acted silly and immature and I did something that made them laugh, I say, did you forget about your problems today? Or for even 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And they did. And if I can give you joy, and if I can be a little bit of light in your darkness, amen. I'm winning. I'm winning.
Mm-hmm.
I'm winning.
Amen. Amen. And we should all strive for that, because when you give, you get. And there's so much you said there, Serena, that I could unpack. I want to think about a couple of things, be intentional about that. But something you keyed on and you said, what I kind of laughed about, is that, our lives are going to fall apart. And that's the truth, right? The challenges that we face are going to happen in our life. I mean, there's a reason why it's tattooed on my arm that says, what doesn't kill me only makes me stronger. I literally, for those of you guys listening on the podcast, it's tattooed on my right forearm. What doesn't kill me only makes me stronger. On my left forearm, it says, you're only limited by the parameters of your own mind, right? And so there's a reason why I did that what doesn't kill me only makes me stronger tattoo was in 2016. I was going through a really dark night of the soul, as they call it. And I used to take myself for walks. It was before my son Jackson was born, and I was very successful in my career, very successful in coaching, successful monetary success, possessions, all this stuff. But I was empty inside. I was empty. I was frustrated. I was not being congruent. I was not being authentic. Everybody on earth was like, Chris, you're so lucky and you're so positive and you're so energetic and you're so this and you're so this. And nobody knew that I was taking myself for a walk every day with my dog, trying to talk myself out of not offing myself, but trying to find a reason to be excited about life. And in those times, Serena, what you just said, that's an opportunity for us to be honest with ourselves and make those tough choices and those decisions to say, okay, is this working for me? Am I happy doing this? Right. And taking it one step at a time to be able to dissect it and make it a little bit better day after day, month after month, year after year. It's where ultimately we can look back on 3 years and go, wow, man, I went through some shit, but I'm so thankful that I did that because it caused me to address the marriage that I've been unhappy in for 25 years. It caused me to leave the job where I was getting, picked on and isolated or whatever it might be. It's that thing that caused me to do it. And most often people say, I wish I would have done it sooner. But in all of that, Serena, you mentioned the word love a few times. And I know that there's people listening and watching and they said that love. Yeah, whatever. I got to pay the bills. I got this going on. I got that going on. I don't have time for all that fluffy bullshit. I'm trying to survive. And I know that people are saying that from a place of hurt and loneliness, and perhaps they've been wronged in their life and they're afraid of getting hurt again, and they're afraid of putting themselves out there again. But most importantly, what I found during COVID, and I can't remember if I shared this with you or not, but I did a bunch of free coaching calls for people over Zoom. And so I would do these coaching calls with them and I would see them. And then I started hearing this whisper, and this whisper said, ask them this question, Chris. And for everybody listening, I've learned to listen to my whisper. I believe it's God's source universe. I believe it's my conscience. It's my soul. It's something within myself that's the higher power that's kind of guiding me. And so I asked him this question, and I thought it was going to be crazy, but I said, okay, Serena, I'm going to ask you this question. I don't want you to think about it, but do you love yourself? Yes or no?
Yes.
And I would watch people's faces, sit there and analyze the question I just asked them. And surprisingly, 85% of the people struggled with loving themselves or being comfortable talking about loving themselves. And I ask them, like, who do you love the most? And they'll tell me, and they'll say, oh, what do you love about that person? Oh, I love their laughter. I love their this. I love their that. Okay, what do you love about yourself?
Well, Chris,
everything changes. So my question to you is, how do we help people find more love for themselves? Because that's the critical point of starting to be able to give love to others.
Okay, so that's a big question. So what I would say, and I'm going to start with mindset, and this is the education, and these are the tools. And hopefully as an educator, I can give this to my students. And I tell them mindset is everything. And their mind is operating in the only way that it knows how. So shifting your mindset. So the first thing that I'm going to say again is you are going to go through a challenging time. You're going to lose your job. Maybe you're domestic violence. Maybe it's disease. Maybe it's mental health. If you're aware that life gives you problems, challenges, you are aware that this is a moment in your life and you have a choice. When you are in your darkest of moments, it's very hard for people to see this, but again, hopefully we can teach this. When you are in your darkest of moments, say thank you. Because I guarantee you, when you come out of the darkness, you have a brand new perspective on life. You look at things differently. So if you can thank your hardest lesson, because your hardest lesson becomes your biggest teacher. Okay, and that might be hard for people to understand. So my very first thing is acceptance. I say this to my students all the time. So let me just give a little bit of a background about what I do, my education as a special education specialist. I'm high school. So high school falls, you have your mainstream high school, then you have alternative education, and then you have what I work in, which is called education community partnership programs, which means that all the students that I'm serving are coming to me from the Ministry of Child and Youth Services, and they're coming to me from organizations, mainly not-for-profit organizations, who have taken these youth. And I go in and I'm able to provide them an education while they're in treatment. So I've taught in jail, I've taught in mental health hospitals, in group homes. And in these environments, which are extremely harsh, I go into them and I say to the kids, honesty. Honesty is best. Obviously, things are not going right in our lives. Clearly, we wouldn't be where we are right now today if things were going okay. My job over the next year or two is to help you be okay, to maybe reintegrate you into society, maybe help you get back into your family, maybe help you get a job. So here's the deal. We need to be honest. What choices have you made that got you here right now? If you cannot accept where you're at right now, you're never going to move forward. And one of the whole great things about life is hopefully we're always moving forward, right? And so my job is to give you the tools to take steps forward so things can look different for you. And again, I am talking about some of the most vulnerable, marginalized youth. Not only here in Canada, I've been to the States, I've done it there, Haiti, I've done it there, Belize, I've done it in countries. And it's universal. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. Everyone is suffering. Everyone wants to be loved. Everybody wants to be heard. And so, and I truly believe everyone's doing the best they can. Now, when
we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. I'll pin that one. We'll talk about best.
Well, no, I'll go there. I'll go there right now. Because
okay, so people say they're doing the best they can. I find a lot of them are full of shit. That people aren't doing the best they can. They say they're doing the best they can, but they don't realize that they're capable of so much more.
Okay, but I think you're saying this because you are a life coach. So then you have a client come to you, and your client says, "I am suffering from depression or addiction, and I can't stop. I'm just addicted to it." And then you might say, like, "Are you really doing the best you can?" Now, for me, I believe many of us are doing the best we can. Now, for me in particular, when my students, some of the most vulnerable students, are coming to school, you don't know what happened to them. You don't know what happened to them the night before. You don't know what's happening to anyone that you're in front of. But what I'm saying, and I am completely blessed, I was built on a foundation of love. So thank goodness that I have that. But many people, when they're brought into this world, such as a lot of the clients and the students that I serve, they were brought into the world, and the world was not good to them. Okay, they were brought into the world, Chris, the way maybe your story is phenomenal. You know, you were living in a car with like 13 cats. Oh my God, today is your mom's birthday.
Today is my mom's birthday. She would have been 83. Yeah.
Yes. Happy birthday to your mom. And so when you didn't know any other way, you were at that time in your life. And that's what I'm saying. For me, my brain right now is thinking about all the youth, right? So I'm thinking about the youth. I'm not thinking about adults. That's a different conversation. Or some adults. But what I'm saying is you are who you hang around. You are a product of your environment. So God forbid, and I'm sorry, a student comes in and he is hitting another kid. A student comes in and they're touching another kid inappropriate. A student comes in and they are very aggressive because that's all they know how to do is hit and punch. They don't know how to use their words. They're doing the best that they can. So therefore now I get to show them a different way. And I hope not just what I get to do in my classroom, but what Help Heal Humanity does is to teach people how to be better people, right? You are a product of your environment up until a certain age. I was a product of my environment up until like maybe 16. And I was like, wait, I can rewire my brain.
Yeah.
I can change the outcome of my life. Like have to be I love my mom. She's my favorite human person in the world. God bless her soul. But I don't have to be my mom or my grandma or my ancestors. I can be better. So yes, birth to a certain age, we are doing the best we can. But at some point you reach adult and you have choice. You have choice. And what you do with that is up to you. So once you have choice, once you have clarity, once you have awareness, once you know, then that's different. You have a choice to do it or not do it. And if you're not doing it, then you're causing more harm to yourself. Now, if you take
But maybe that's what I deserve, Serena. Maybe that's what I deserve. Maybe I've been told I'm a piece of shit all my life, and that's what I seek out. That's what I find. I mean, how do we get them to shift that conversation with themselves at such an early age, and incorporating that question I said before? How do we get them to love themselves? Because what I've seen in the at-risk kids that I've mentored a lot is the first thing they do is they blame. Oh, it's my parents, it's my foster parents, it's the society, it's the government, it's the food stamps, it's the school, it's the teachers. How do we get them to not blame and take that responsibility and like you did and start to make that forward shift?
Well, again, I said first is acceptance, but if you can't do acceptance, then it's really, I mean, I'm sorry, Chris, doesn't matter who you are. When you're born into this world, you do not think that you are not worth loving. You do not think that you're not important. Somebody planted that in your head. Somebody told you weren't good enough. So that's where you start to teach at a very young age, non-attachment, non-judgmental, right? You teach people these things because they do not know them. You are capable of being loved. People do love you. You have something special about you. And I love that because I am, and I have been, and I didn't know that all my life was preparing me for this. But I have luckily spent hundreds of hours in meditation, in nature, grounding myself, reading, learning, so that I can not only heal myself, but I can pass that on to others. So I don't care who you are. You want to be loved. You want to be loved. If you say you don't, just like some of my students in the class, like they would come in and it's like, okay, well, Miss B, we're going to teach you life skills. We're going to teach you social skills. We're going to teach you about healthy relationships. We're going to teach you how to be okay when you're not okay. Because if that's what they're dealing with on a daily basis, it's not okay. But we're going to build up your strength. We're going to build up your resiliency. We're going to give you hope. Hope is a beautiful thing. Hope is a beautiful thing. And I think students do have hope when they come to the classroom because they see that I'm invested in them and they see that we can do something to make our lives better. And I always have those kids that come in and they're like, F you, miss. And I can't tell you how many things I've gotten, how many times I've been hit, gotten things thrown at me.
Dead bird on your desk. I remember you telling me that last year.
Bird on the desk. I've had a lot of, not okay situations and kids who are like, I'm not doing this. So I say to them, that's fine. Just sit there and you can be miserable all by yourself, but don't ruin it for those of us who are actually trying. And it's funny, I will tell you, Chris, for sure, those kids that sit in the back and they laugh and they think that like we're all silly and we're stupid, they start to move to the front. And they're like, because they see their friends or they see these little things, these little rituals every day are helping them. And so when they see that's the hope. When they see somebody else has been through or going through what they're going through and they're coming out on top or they're coming out better, that hope makes them want to take action to do better. So I truly believe that no matter who you are, you do want to be loved. Are you still there, Chris?
Yes, I am. I'm just making a note.
Okay, because it looks like you were breaking up. Sorry. Oh. And so that's what I mean. And so then you start to role model, to show how to do it. Because and that's why I said, like, if Help Heal Humanity could create a course code that starts in elementary school, high school, post-secondary, that would be phenomenal. Because we teach kids at a very young age, how do you deal with your emotions? How do you stand up for yourself? How do you get that job? How do you make wise choices? And so everybody wants that. And I do believe no matter who you are, you can get there. And that's what we do is setting up structure, setting up routine. You need a plan. You can't just like, okay, I'm going to be better. You know the amount of hard work and discipline that it takes to heal yourself, to be okay. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of discipline. Not like I said at the top of the show, nothing in life is easy. There's going to be
So what are the first three things people can do? Like when we're breaking it down for the people that are listening and watching this, whether they're adult or children, what are like three things that they can do, baby steps that can get them in that vein of having that hope and that belief? Because so oftentimes maybe they're perhaps their entire life, their hopes and their beliefs and everything have been dashed by the negative people in their life. So what are some slow and easy ways that people can ease into that and start having that faith and that belief? Because we know that as they start seeing the evidence, of them not choosing to be a victim anymore, right? That's a delineation they need to make in their brain. Am I going to be a victim to the situation, or am I going to be a victor to the situation? And what I've seen, and I was just interviewing somebody recently, and I said, how did you not turn out like the rest of everybody else in your family? He goes, I decided to break that cycle. That's the same thing I did. I broke the cycle of physical abuse in my family. We have to decide those things. So what are a couple of things that people can start doing to ease into that self-love, that self-care, and that believing in the opportunity and the possibilities?
Start with one small daily ritual. And when I say ritual, I'm not mean like go read scriptures, go sing hallelujah. One small ritual. That could be as simple as making a tea and sitting with your tea and having a tea for 5 minutes and being in stillness with yourself. Be still with yourself. Okay, so do a daily ritual, some type of a daily practice. It might be listening to music, it might be journaling, it might be dancing, it could be whatever, something that you love. Do it for yourself once a day, for sure, without a doubt. Because if we are not serving ourselves, we are not happy. If we are not living our lives for ourselves, which many of us are not doing, and I'm guilty of that myself, then we are not fully happy and we're not fully living our passion, right? So sit down with yourself, quiet your mind, take deep breaths. So I say start with a daily ritual. For me, every day when I do gratitude prayers. So I pray. People probably think I'm crazy. I pray like 20 times a day at least. I'm constantly like asking, praying, thankful, whatever. So I have a little conversation, I don't know, with divine source, God, higher power, whatever that may be. Have a little conversation. Ask for what you need. Ask for what you want. Trust that there is some divine action happening in the world, and someone is listening by you putting it out there. Things will start to shift. Change the thoughts that are in your head. Like, again, the minute you realize your self-talk is negative self-talk, and I do this with my students all the time, okay? Affirmations. And I make them either say them out loud or write them, because and what I'm saying is a lot of my students don't know how to read or write. So we have to do these things out loud because we can't write them, right? And so when we say them out loud, and my students are like, Miss, this sounds ridiculous.
Of course.
Like,
it's uncomfortable.
Like you said, they can't even say it. It's such an uncomfortable feeling. And I said, please, 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 please. Do you trust Miss B? Yeah. Okay. Just do it for me then, And over time, and I remember even when that happened, when I first started doing affirmations and thinking about the things that I want for my life and speaking them into, the world. It wasn't easy at first. It's hard, right? But the more you do it, and that's what I mean by discipline, the more you do it, and the more comfortable you get with being uncomfortable, the better you get. And that starts with, again, the daily affirmations, the journaling. For me, nature is God for me. I love to be in nature, but that could be water. Go sit by the water if you love the water. You're outside, you just love the air, breathe in the air.
I'm going to the beach tomorrow.
So for me, like, things that we can do is, and these are, Chris, we could be here forever. Go in nature, have a daily ritual, go near the water, take deep breaths, do meditation, be at one with yourself. Something else nobody ever talks about, get good sleep. That is like these are basic things that a lot of people don't know, and they will shift your life. And another thing I will say, nutrition. And until you have lived it and experienced and you see the direct relationship that what you're putting inside you affects your mood, affects your personality, your physical. And until you realize that, you might still keep putting processed, really not good food inside of you. But this is it. It's providing people with a whole bunch of different tools, and pick what you can, do what you can. And there's so much. Sleep, again, I'm going to repeat them because they are so important. They're so important. These are the doctors of our life that don't come with prescriptions. Nature, rest, breath, water. Did I say nutrition? Nutrition, right? Like, these are critical things in life that we need to do to be okay. And then when you start doing that, when you start, maybe eating a little bit better, when you start going into nature, when you start taking moments. For me, I wake up with gratitude, but I go to sleep. And when I go to sleep, I do like a recap of the day. And I look at what was really good, what was not good, what could I do better? And then I set an intention to try to be better at that. So these are just daily conversations with yourself in how to be better. And I don't care who you are. Everybody wants to be better. Everybody wants to be loved. And you want to constantly be growing and evolving and shifting. And my one thing is, do not wait till you have it all figured out. Perfectionist is the worst thing. Like, we always talk about anxiety, depression. We talk about mental health. We talk about addiction. We talk about disease. Perfectionism, that's a very ugly disease, right? Because it prevents you from being able to do fully what you want to do because you're waiting for everything to be perfect. So my message is, stop waiting. Don't wait till January 1st. Don't wait for Monday. Right now. And every day, like little things. We're not trying to change the world in one day. Just little acts of kindness, acts of service. And then that's, I could talk forever, because then I'll start talking about service work, and then I'll start talking about
Well, I tell you what, hit the pause button right there, because I wrote 3 things down so we could easily jump off on any one of those 3 tangents. But I want to highlight a couple of things you said. Number one, you talked about negative self-talk, right? And that voice in our head, that chatter in our head that says that we can't do it. Oh, I can't do it. And I tell people, for people listening and watching, 2 words to eliminate from your vocabulary: always and never. I always screw up. I'll never find the right person. I always make the mistake. I always put my foot in my mouth. I always forget things. I'm always stupid at math, whatever it might be. If you guys continue to do that and you continue to program your computer, you will continue to get the same results. But like you're saying, Serena, if there's an opportunity, I tell people to put a rubber band on their wrist and then snap it every time they catch themselves speaking negatively to themselves. I've only had one person say that was self-inflicting harm and gave me a riot of shit about that, but that's to that own individual. But the point is about being aware, and like, you catch yourself, wow, I just call myself a piece of shit again. I just call myself stupid, and I snap the rubber band. What's something in place of that? I'm a work in process, right? I'm not telling people to sit there and say, I'm the smartest person in the world. Golly, no, I'm a work in process. I'm going to give myself the benefit of the doubt. And that negative self-talk, once we start catching it, once we start changing it, then the results start to change. And I ask people, like, is it okay for your son or your daughter or the person you love the most to speak to themselves that way? No. Immediately, no. I'm like, why is it not? Why can't they speak to themselves that way? Because they're worth so much more, and they're so this, and they're so this. And I'm like, okay, so how do you turn that around on yourself? Right? Mel Robbins wrote a book, and basically the essence of it is to high five yourself in the mirror every day. Not break the mirror, but give yourself a high five and say, hey, yeah, listen, I got this. And I love what you also brought up is the fact that, that intentionality of what it is that we're doing and what it is that we're saying, right? So oftentimes we focus on what we don't have. Oh, I don't have the money. I don't have the looks. I don't have the body. I don't have the house. I don't have the car. I don't have the relationship. I don't have this. I don't have this. And we sit there and we focus on it, and guess what? We have this thing called a reticular activation system in our brain that says, I'm going to look for that thing that I'm talking about the most. And see, there's another reason why I don't have it. There's another reason that proves that I'm ugly. There's another reason. No, it's like, if you sit there and look around in gratitude, and going back to COVID, I would ask people, like, on shows, I'm like, what are you grateful for the most? And people surprisingly would say breathing. I'm like, tell me more about that. Well, I didn't tell very many people, but I had COVID and I was in the hospital and I was on a ventilator and I was in ICU and I could barely breathe. And the whole thing is I could roll this ball to a certain thing and then I could get off the respirator or ventilator and then I can breathe. And so people's goals were just that, the simplicity of being able to breathe on our own. And when we find gratitude on that, man, I'm grateful for the lights. I'm grateful for the bed. I'm grateful for the challenges that I have because they afford me the opportunity to become stronger and better. And to that point, you also talked about the perfectionism and the consistency, right? And that's what we encourage everybody out there to do. It's not going to be easy. And people tell me that, Chris, it's going to be so hard. It's going to be so hard. I'm like, yeah, it took you fucking 35 years to get to this shitty situation. You got to afford yourself maybe 3 years, maybe 5 years, maybe, but I can guarantee you in 6 months, when you start doing those imperfect actions every single day, like you said, Serena, I call it the 5: hydration, nutrition, sleep, exercise, and vitamin D. I actually track my sleep with an Oura ring. So when I tell people you get the vitamin D, the sleep, the water, half your body weight in ounces of water every single day, just that, focusing on your sleep, focusing on being grateful. And then here's the big thing. Take a look at what we're tolerating in our life and stop tolerating 30% of the shit that you tolerate from yourself and from other people and from inanimate objects. All those things combined are not easy, but they're worth it. They're worth it. And there's something we haven't talked about yet, Serena, and so I want to hit you up with this. Fear. So what is your biggest fear right now? When we think about the world and life and the process of aging, I know that my life, I've gone through a lot of introspection in the last 6 months, thinking about life and my impact and being 56 years old. So let's talk about what Serena's fear is. And then more importantly, how do you process your fears? Like, throughout your life, you may have been afraid of success or afraid of failure or afraid of, taking that risk or afraid of. So talk to us about fears, but what is Serena's fear right now? And how are you processing that?
Okay. So fear is insecurity. Fear manifests itself in addictions, in loneliness, in not being able to do the things that we want to do. It paralyzes us. And most of us run away from fear and we try to numb the pain without ever getting to the root cause of the fear. But again, when you have a mindset that allows you to understand that fear is actually moving you to your truth, you begin to think differently. So one of the big lessons, I'll tell you my fear in a second. One of the big lessons that I'm teaching right now, because as I said, I taught in Toronto for 15 years. I went somewhat international with HHH, and now I'm back local at home in the classroom. And I will tell you, it has changed a lot. The school, the classroom, the children, the reality of life has shifted a lot. One of the main, back in the day, I'd say one of my first lessons was on love and respect. And what does that look like? How do you love and respect yourself first? Then your circle of family and friends, and then your community. One of the biggest lessons that I'm teaching right now is fail. How to fail and how to fail again, and fail well. And people look at me, and my students look at me, because now you're giving them permission to screw up. You're giving them permission. Yeah. You're giving them permission to go do something without thinking about the outcome. So you remove the outcome, you remove the expectation, you remove the judgment, and you just go and do it. But what I say to them is, when we're failing, we're actually learning a different direction. When we fail, we're learning how to do something different, something better. And the more we fail,
opportunity
we become. So again, your choice of words, whether it's self-talk or talking to others, the words that I use with them is to inspire them, to motivate them, to role model, to empower them. So I'm teaching kids how to fail, and how to fail well, because you know what? They're going to screw up a million times in their life. And instead of letting that fear hold them back, they're going to learn how to step into it. And when we start stepping into our fear, And the fear is the unknown. That's why we're scared of it, right?
Mhm.
But when you step into your fears, when you step into the unknown, I guarantee you, you're going to learn something. And as you're learning, you're going to keep going and you're going to keep growing. And the more you learn, the more you grow, the better you become. So face your fears, because that is the other thing. People are not facing their fears. They're scared. And when you're not facing your fears, you're stuck. And so most of the world is stuck right now, right? Do not be stuck. Take the step, because you only have, I think a life expectancy is 80 years. You only have 80 years on this planet. You want to spend another 5 of them being stuck? No. Face your fears, because I guarantee you, and I'm going to put money on it right now, the minute you start facing your fears, those insecurities you have, those numbing mechanisms you have, those things that you have, are going to start to go away. Because when you face your fears, you're coming closer to yourself. And then facing your fears is going to give you confidence. And when you have confidence and when you have hope and you're building your like resiliency, you become unstoppable. And so these are, you know, in a nutshell, the things that I try to role model and to teach wherever I can go, because we need more of that. You know, I tell people I'm the teacher who doesn't believe in academics and the yogi who doesn't believe in balance. But I'm changing that. And what I mean by that is, of course, I believe in academics. I wouldn't even be here if I didn't have all my certificates on the wall right now. But what I'm saying is, people are already teaching that. But can we start to incorporate in school at a young age and make it normal to teach these practices in life, right? Like, going back to the classroom, I'm like looking at my students. I'm like, does anybody have manners? Does anybody have manners? Say please, say thank you, talk nicely with each other. Miss, nobody talks like that. I'm like, well, today we are. And I make them go up to the front and I make them role model or role play, you know, the skit in how to be kinder, because that's what I said. Go back to the basics, simplicity. Be kind, be nice, you know, open doors for people.
Yep.
Things you love. You know, that's something else we didn't touch upon, is how most of the world is living a life that people want for them and not the life that they want for themselves. There's so many topics to discuss. I think we are way over time, and we haven't even talked about what my biggest fear is. And my biggest fear is that HHH is not going to have enough money to keep our doors open and the kids in Haiti going to school. And it's not only going to school, but there is, and this is what I mean by being okay when you're not okay. What is happening in the world right now is not okay.
Mm-mm.
I don't even think a lot of people understand, or people just don't care to understand. Out of sight, out of mind. Okay. And I know a lot of people are standing up for different causes. And I understand that a lot of people want to help what's happening at home in their backyard. And for me today, my voice is for the children of Haiti. My biggest fear is that those kids cannot go to school in 6 weeks from now. That HHH will not have enough funds to send our students to school. And it's not over only sending them to school, Chris. It's feeding them. We had 18 kids nearly die because they did not have food. So this summer am making decisions that are literally bringing tears to my eyes, because I know there's hundreds of thousands of kids sitting in a community right now, literally sitting in space none of us will understand. So if you're listening and you're watching, to understand what the people of Haiti are going through right now is the biggest humanitarian crisis. There's no food, water, there's no electricity, there's no schools, there is no government, there is no roads, there's no infrastructure, there's no hospitals, there's no fuel. I could give you a 30-minute conversation about fuel, gas, okay? Because if you have no electricity, gas becomes the greatest resource. Gas is running the generators. And there's no gas, which means there's no generators, which means the hospitals, even if you go to the hospital, you can't get help because none of the machines work. I don't think people understand the level of devastation. And do I think that I can save the world? No. Do I think that I can save Haiti? No. But do I 100% believe that the communities that we are serving, that are literally praying for us right now, that we do raise the funds to get these kids in school, that it is making a difference. And so this summer, I have been sitting with the hard decisions. Do we stay in Haiti? Do we cut the number of children down so that we can start to incorporate food? And so my fear is, how do I get the world to care? How do I get people to care about what is happening in the world right now and how we can help literally the millions of people that will most likely die in the next year because they do not have food, shelter, water. And so my mission is to hopefully face that fear, kill that fear, and get all those kids in school. And that's why I'm saying yes to everything again, because I've kind of been a recluse. I've been inwards. And so I realized going back to the classroom, which is my passion, my love, my joy, I truly believe it's one of the places I'm meant to be in the world.
Yes.
But my classroom brought me to Haiti. And so my friend said to me the other day, and she quoted Maya Angelou. She said, Serena, you come as one, or you stand as 10,000. And today I want to stand for 10 million people, at least, around the world right now who do not have water, who are literally starving. And I know we're all scrolling in our phones. I know this, and we're just scrolling past it. But all I'm saying is that if each and every single one of us just do a little bit, and you give to the grassroots organizations, the grassroots, the people who are on the grounds, the people who are doing the work, we can make a difference. And so my fear that I hope is no longer a fear is that in the next 6 weeks, people go to helphealhumanity.org and they sponsor a student. And if you don't have enough funds to sponsor a student, just give what you can. I don't know, do it with all your friends. Come together, have a dinner party. Everybody pay $20 at the door. And then you eat dinner, something that a lot of people can't do right now. And at the end of that dinner, instead of going to maybe the restaurant, you now put a kid in school. You gave them hope, you gave them opportunity, you gave them structure, you gave them skills, and hopefully you gave them a warm meal in their belly, because many of them are not eating. So my responsibility is not only to the children in my classroom anymore, it's now become communities and countries, and I'm crying because if we just teach kindness, which is what Help Heal Humanity is doing. We are teaching kindness. And if we can spread that kindness, and if we can give ourselves up to help others, I promise it's going to come back to you tenfold. And so we didn't even get into the topic of service, but I do talk a lot. I'm sorry, I'm going to stop. Go ahead.
No, I mean, you talk, but it's, I mean, you just have everybody hanging on every single word that you're talking about, Serena, because it's so true. And it is so sad. Like when we think about where the world is going, I don't follow the news or watch politics, but I see enough of it in social media posts. I hear enough of it from my wife, who is a very, very impassioned person like yourself, and thinking about, you know, where the world's going and women's rights and what's going on here in the United States with our current government administration. It's sad. It's sad, you know, when you just realize that. But for me, the only way that I could really process it for myself without getting completely devastated and despondent and depressed is to realize that when I look back in history and I look back in my own life, oftentimes it is the people that it doesn't affect that ultimately something happens within themselves or their lives that causes them to face the reality that it could happen to all of us. Right? There's so many people out there that say, oh, that could never happen to me. But so many people are one paycheck away. And if you just look, I mean, irrespective of everything that's going on with everything else in the world, if you just look at what artificial intelligence is doing. I made the mistake of watching 3 videos last week, and I've been putting my head in the sand because, Serena, I'm one of those people sometimes where I just stick my head in the sand. I have to, but I didn't. And I sat there and I said, okay, let me see what the next 18 months with AI is going to be. And the truth of the fact is how many jobs it's going to extinguish and how many people are not paying attention to that. And those people perhaps are thinking everything's sunshine and roses. Oh, I'm just living in this bubble. And then something's going to happen where they're going to have food insecurity and they're going to have, housing insecurity. And perhaps, unfortunately, that's the situation where people realize, oh, it can happen. It happens to all of us. And maybe now I need to be a part of the solution rather than part of the problem. And unfortunately, I think, when I think about love and I think about, people out there that sometimes people say they don't have love because they don't do anything. I believe, and my hope is that through more tumultuous situations, more sad situations, more devastating situations, that there is a greater awakening, with everybody on the spinning blue marble. And I think that is happening. I think people are realizing that we're more the same than we are different. I really believe that the young generation now are going to be the generation that changes everything and that gets rid of these stodgy old fuckers in the White House and the Congress and the parliaments and all that other shit. I've heard stories now, and it raises my heart that people in high school, kids in high school, are running for office and they're getting into politics because they're seeing what their parents are doing and they're seeing what's going on in the world. And they're like, how can this fucking happen? How can we have Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos and all these people who have zillions of dollars? And how do we still have people that are going hungry every single night in our own country and in other countries? So unfortunately, I think that we have to go through this process for it ultimately to become amazingly better. And unfortunately, people are going to suffer and die through that process. But my goal is, in thinking about kids, and this is the truth, Serena, I don't say anything that's not true. My deepest heart of heart goals, and I look at this with Jackson, he's 8 years old, that Jackson is going to be at a point in his life someday where he's going to be like, Dad, I was just reading in history class what happened back in 2020 and how that was the great shift of people starting to take care of one another. And that was the great shift of people people realizing that money and possessions are great, but it's the impact that you can do and the changes that you can make. Serena, for me, it's having that belief that perhaps when I'm 85 years old and I'm old as fuck and I've seen so much shit happen in my life that I'm looking at my grandkids and I'm like, holy shit, it turned out okay. It turned out okay. We went through some shit. We had some horrible times, but wow, look at us now. And that's literally why you said hope. I say believe. That's why all my wristbands say believe. That's why I have a license plate that says believe. I have a license plate frame that says believe. I believe that no matter what all of us are going through individually and collectively, that if we choose to have that awareness and we choose to accept the responsibility and we take that imperfect action and we not only try to improve our lives, but maybe the person next door, maybe the person down the street, maybe the person online, maybe whoever it is, we could do a little bit, then we can heal ourselves and we can heal the rest of the world and we can help heal humanity.
That's it. That is the message. Together, we can help heal humanity. Mm-hmm. Your greatest tragedy.
Easy for you to say.
Your greatest tragedy will be your biggest teacher. You've been put on this earth to do good. If you don't know where to begin, contact me at helphealhumanity.org, and I will help you. I think that's what we're here to do. And I really, truly do believe that, it begins with each and every single one of us. And, if we start to do a little bit to help ourselves and to help other people, the world will be kinder. So be nice, people. Be nice. Take deep breaths, go into nature, say nice things to yourself, talk to whoever you believe in, ask for guidance, and make a donation to student sponsorship at Help Heal Humanity. So we can get all those kids in school and I could go back to the classroom and then we can continue to do the good work and do the good work.
Serena Buffalino, you are amazing, my dear. I have an idea that I'll talk to you off air that might help us have more of these conversations. Perhaps we'll see. But I am going to place you backstage, end out the show. Don't go anywhere so I can still have a chat with you. But thank you so much for pouring your heart out here and sharing your gifts with everybody who's listening. I know without a shadow of a doubt that there are people out there crying and thinking, and we'll be connecting with you and learning more about what it is that you do and perhaps what they can do to help contribute to the fact of getting those kids to school and keeping them fed. I'm going to place you backstage for a minute. Don't go anywhere, my dear. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. HelpHealHumanity.org. HelpHealHumanity.org. If you guys are driving and listening to the podcast, it's in the show notes. By all means, go check it out. It's an amazing organization. Like I said before, I've had the opportunity to serve on the board and to be a participant in what activities Serena and the crew does. And it's absolutely remarkable and inspiring to see that kids from her class said, hey, Miss B, we can make a difference, and go over to Haiti and actually build a school. And not only build a school, but get kids to go to school. And not only that, create the curriculum and get the uniforms and do the fundraising every single year. She's done bike rides. She's done dinners. She's done galas. She's done sponsorships. She's done corporate things. She has done more than any other human being that I know personally in my life in order to show that together we can make a difference, and individually we can make a difference. And whether it's $5 or $500, right? We can all make that sacrifice and that opportunity, whether it's for homeless kids in the United States, homeless kids in Haiti, whatever it is that you can do. As long as you're looking at yourself every single day in the mirror and saying, am I a part of the solution or am I part of the problem? Right. And that's what this conversation really comes down to. And I think about the conversations that we have here on the Raw Unscripted show, whether it's by myself or it's with a guest, is try to surmise it in such a way that you guys can walk away with that lesson and think about that. Right? For yourself. Am I a part of the solution or am I part of the problem? Am I a part of the solution in my own life? Am I accepting responsibility for the actions that I'm taking? Am I accepting responsibility for the damage that I'm probably doing to my mind and my body and my spirit by the negative self-talk that I continue to allow in my life? Am I doing the greatest service I could possibly do for the people that I love in my life when I'm not loving myself? Right? When you think about that, the care and the concern that you take with yourself, if you look at it from a scale of 1 to 10 and you go, okay, 10 is absolute, right? 10 is absolute. You're taking care of yourself mentally, spiritually, physically, and you're doing all the right things. But when I ask you, how do you love yourself? How do you take care of yourself? And you tell me a 4, right? You think about that. You take care of yourself a 4, but then the next question I ask you, or maybe the question I asked you before, is who do you love most in the world? And everybody, my grandkids or my kids or my husband or my wife or my mom or my best friend, right? They immediately say that. Oh, what do you love about them? Like I said before, and they're able to say exactly what they love about them. But what about yourself? What is it that you love about yourself? What are the things that you loved about yourself when you were a kid? What are the dreams and the goals and the aspirations that you had? And maybe try to reconnect with that, and maybe accept that things that have happened in your life have not happened to you, but they've happened for you. Like Serena and I have said, I would not be the man that I am today had I not gone through being homeless in a car with 18 cats, Serena, 18 cats and 4 full-size dogs, with a mother with various psychological disorders. Had I not tried to kill myself twice and fortunately sucked it, had I not had a gun put to my head, had I not had my first wife cheat on me, had I not had the guy backstab me, had I not had the business partner betray me, had I not had this, had I not all these negative experiences in my life, I wouldn't be the man I am today, because I was able to sit there and see that situation as an opportunity, as a lesson. So whatever it is that you're going through in your life right now, ask yourself, what am I supposed to be learning from this? Not why is this happening to me? Why does this always happen to me? What? Stop with the fucking victim party. Stop with the pity party. Nobody's coming to save you. It's the person in the mirror. It's that person when you wake up tomorrow and you say, what's the fucking thing? What's the one fucking thing I can do today that by which doing so perhaps will provide me a little bit more peace, perhaps will provide me a little bit more income, will perhaps provide me with a little bit more time, right? Think about what it is that's your biggest excuse. I don't have time. I don't have money. I don't have knowledge. I don't have whatever it is, right? Whatever that excuse is, how about sitting there writing down on a piece of paper and being active in the solution solving, and write down some solutions? What are some ways that I can talk better to myself? What are some ways that I can treat myself better? What are some things that I can do? Perhaps if I put something on my calendar to look forward to, then I can be excited about life. How about maybe, like I said before, maybe just taking a look at the things that you tolerate. What do you tolerate from yourself? What do you tolerate from others? What do you tolerate from inanimate objects? I have proven beyond a shadow of doubt, when you look at what it is that you're tolerating and you say, hey, man, what's the one thing that I'm tolerating right now by which removing it in my life will increase my time, energy, my love, or reduce my tension and my frustration and my overwhelm? What's that one thing? And then sit there and decide that you're worth it and you're going to tackle and accomplish that. And I'll give you guys an example. I had a mother who is a client of mine, and we got to the topic of, what it is that she wants to do. And she's like, Chris, I just don't have time. And I'm like, well, talk to me about your day. And she started telling me about her day from stem to stern, from the top to the bottom. I asked her all sorts of questions. How do you spend this time? How do you spend that time? And it ultimately came down to a situation where her family was just driving her insane with everything that they wanted her to do. She was doing the laundry. She was doing the cooking. She was doing the cleaning. She was doing the vacation planning. She was doing everything. And I said, what would it be like if your family and your husband and your kids actually participated and helped you? Oh my God, Chris, that would be amazing, but that'll never happen. And I'm like, okay, good, great. So you get hit by a bus tomorrow. You're fucking deader than a doornail. You're telling me that your kids and your husband aren't going to have clean clothes and not going to have lunches to go to? Well, no, I guess. Well, what would happen there, Sally? What would happen? Your fucking family would figure the shit out. Otherwise, they would go to school smelling like shit and being hungry. So here's the lesson in that. Yes, there is something you can do. You could put your foot down. Right? You can ask your family for help. In this situation, Sally never asked her family for help. So I said, hey, this is what you're going to do. You're going to go to the family with a plan and say, hey, here's the new thing. If you want your laundry done, you're going to organize it. You're going to sort it. You're going to bring it down to the laundry room. I'm happy to do it. And then I'm going to put it by the stairs, and you're going to take it back upstairs, and you're going to fold it and put it away. Guess what? If you don't want to do that, then you can fucking just take your clothes out of the dirty hamper and you can figure it out for yourself, because I'm no longer going to spend an hour on each hamper folding it and putting it away for you guys. Sally stood up. Guess what? Her family said, Mom, we wish you would have asked sooner. And so what happened? Sally freed up 3 hours of her time every single week, no longer had the excuse that she couldn't start that business. And now she's starting the business because guess what? She got active. She got active in the solution part of her life. Guess what she also did? She got me as a coach. So she got some right people in her life. She started taking better care of herself. She didn't realize that when you drink some water, your body gets hydrated. And when you get hydrated, you think clearer. When you think clearer, you make better decisions and you feel better. And then you go work out and then you do those things. And like Serena said so perfectly, when you go to bed tonight, a couple of things. Recap your day. Hey, what worked? What were some things I could do better? What am I grateful for? And then you go to sleep and you wake up in the morning and you say, hey, wow, I'm grateful I woke up. I'm grateful I'm breathing. I'm grateful for my wife sleeping next to me. I'm grateful for my kid in the other room. I'm grateful for the opportunity to use technology to connect with people all over the world. I'm grateful for the fan I have blowing air on me because it's hotter than hell outside, right? Be grateful. I'm fucking grateful for the bed I have to sleep in because there's people out there not sleeping on beds. They're sleeping on the ground, right? So be grateful, not hateful. And then sit there and set the intention. Hey, what am I going to do today? How am I going to push myself a little bit more outside of my comfort zone? How am I going to face my fears? How am I going to use my, where the fuck ever it is? I gotta pull it out for you guys. How am I going to use this thing, my cell phone, to better my life? Right? Like Serena said, we're doom scrolling. We're scrolling. How about watching a YouTube video on how to fix your finances? How about watching a YouTube video on how to improve your relationships? How about watching a YouTube video on how to grow your business? How about asking ChatGPT for a formulation for a workout plan using only items at your house, right? Whatever it is, get creative, get resourceful. Right? No excuses. You got to be resourceful. That's the thing that I was looking for when Serena was talking about people doing their best, because people don't do their best. They don't get resourceful. Right. And it takes that awareness. It takes that conversation with yourself in the mirror saying, hey, listen, what else can I possibly do? Right? Where can I exchange time and energy to be a little bit more productive? If you're spending an hour every single day, you think about this, an hour every single day, that's 7 hours a week. You 7 hours a week, 4 weeks, that's 28 hours in a month, right? Average. How different would your life be if you spent 28 hours working on your relationship with your husband? How much different would your life be if you spent 28 hours understanding the minds of a teenager? How much different would your life be if you spent time understanding how the credit system works? 28 hours, right? Doesn't seem like much, but then you start doing that and you start realizing, hey, when I commit myself to figuring out what my solutions are to my problems and I start implementing them, they start to be fixed. All right, guys, I'm going to get off my tangent. I'm going to keep you guys to an hour and 13 minutes tonight. We'll be back here next week, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, the Raw Unscripted Show. Make sure you're taking it with us on the audio podcast. And also, for those of you guys who are interested, I have a group coaching program also. So I do one-on-one coaching. I have group coaching. We meet twice a month. It's extraordinarily affordable. So here's my thing for you. For those of you guys who have listened all the way to the end of this show and heard what Serena said, for everybody who donates money, I haven't decided what that cap is, but if you donate money to help heal humanity and help those kids go to school, you guys send me a copy of your donation page at info@noexcusescoach.com, or you send it to me on social media and I will gift you coaching. So here's your opportunity. Not only did you see this and get expired, but here's an opportunity. You can have coaching with me. You can make a difference in the kids' lives, and you can make Serena a happy person. So how about that? I can see Serena smiling in the back room. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you here next time. So please share this episode out on your social media. Please treat yourself better. Please love yourself. Be kinder to yourself, and stem that out to the people that you love the most, right? Life is short. Go out there and live it a kick-ass, unstoppable way.